On the program, we're going through some of the questions, and we come up with a list of 10 questions to ask your financial person, whatever their title is, so that you can get a better insight into exactly what's going on with your finances, and also so that you can have more productive conversations in meetings to help better educate yourself as to what's going on with your money. We covered the first two. Big question, okay, what's the cost? What's the fee? How much is getting paid? That's number one. Number two is, are you a fiduciary? We'll go into some of the other ones as well that are certainly maybe not equally important, but important. And on that list would be things like, what is your investment philosophy? Sort of what's the why behind your investment strategy, right? Is there a decision-making process that represents a coherent and consistent type of approach whereby you can sort of explain your allocation, explain why you rebalance, all of those kinds of things. So another great question to ask is kind of that why question, or so the why question behind the strategy of what is your investment philosophy. Next would then also be, well, how are you going to communicate with me? What's the time frame? Is it going to be clear? Is it going to be concise? Is it going to be consistent? What's your accessibility? All of those kinds of things are important because, look, when it comes to a financial plan, just simply setting it and forgetting it is not going to work, particularly in today's world. You need to know how often you can expect to meet with this person, how often you can expect to hear from this person, and how much of educational information you will get from this individual. And I think that's one of our true uniques at Nelson Financial Planning, is that we really do prioritize sort of ongoing communication, proactive updates. We host educational events 10 out of 12 months for our clients every single year to help educate them on best advice and guidance that they can have with their finances. So important questions to ask. I think another piece of that would be, what's the continuity picture that exists within the firm that you're dealing with? Because this is, I guess, the advisory population is an aging population. When you look at the demographics and the statistics in this industry, you will find that this is an older population. Something like 50% of the people that work in the financial services industry in those advisory roles are in fact expected to retire over the course of the next 10 years. So that means there's going to be a lot of turnover. What's the game plan when it comes to that firm's continuity game plan? Should that person retire or die unexpectedly, or in a lot of cases these days it's moved to another company or get bought by another company? What's the grand plan when it comes to that? We're fortunate. We've been around 42 years now in our second generation of leadership at Nelson Financial Planning. And we think about that a lot. And in fact, have created a Vision 2050 statement that takes us out through that third and potentially into the fourth generation of leadership based on the team that we have at Nelson Financial Planning. So important to kind of ask those questions as well. And then along that same kind of vein of kind of the why behind the investment strategy is, what exactly is it that I own? Is it stocks? Is it bonds? Is it ETFs? Is it funds? But beyond that, how concentrated is the portfolio that I have? And it has to be concise. I mean, oftentimes people have brought into me some of the reports that they get from other places, and it's like 50 pages, 60 pages, and I'm like, well, how can you make sense of all this? Actually, I had one the other day. It was a 500-page statement. I'm like, what can you possibly gain from this? Fortunately, they had decided to do it electronically, so it wasn't a big, epistle coming in through the mail. But you really did, it kind of makes you wonder, like, how do you kind of get your hands all around that? And that's what we're talking about when it comes to understanding what your investment allocation is, where the concentrations are, where what the ultimate mix is, and what's the exposure to individual company names and individual sectors. Certainly important to be aware of, along with what are the risks. Look, every investment, no matter what you have, every investment has some kind of a risk, and there's always trade-offs to that. So everybody, when you have the conversation about risk, they always think about, market risk, market going up, market going down. And that's true, and that's the traditionally way to think of it, but there's so much more to risk than that. There's the risk of inflation, which will reduce down the buying power of your dollars over time. There's the risk of movement in interest rates, which can impact your bond portfolio depending upon which way those interest rates go. There's the risk of concentration, and probably bigger than market risk is the individual behavior risk, which has certainly undone the performance of many a portfolio, probably many more portfolios than what the market has done. So make sure you understand those risks that you are aware of. Another question to ask, of course, is how do you help me stay on track with my long-term goals? The reality is investing is you think of it as investing is the engine to get to retirement or to achieve your goals, but planning is kind of the map or the roadmap in terms of where that engine is going to get there. Other things that are important certainly are my beneficiaries correct, right? An addendum to that we also like to talk about is the firm that you're dealing with willing to meet with your beneficiaries and continue to retain them as clients? We have certainly seen on more than one occasion where we were introduced to people by virtue of the fact that they were told that their accounts were not big enough to be able to be maintained at the particular firm that their parents or their grandparents were at. We find that particularly troubling. We also find that kind of odd if you're subscribing to a fiduciary standard, why you won't help anybody anywhere, regardless of how much money they have. But there's a lot of firms out there that do, and that's probably enough on that. But you hear the ads and see certainly the media posts where you've got to have a certain amount of money. Nowadays, it's north of 500,000. More and more, it's becoming $1 million. And so we always kind of question and scratch our heads on that one as to, are you really there to help people, or are you just there to help people who already have money? The hard part is accumulating money over time. It's kind of easier once you have it, right? Anyway, this is a big one for us. How do you minimize my taxes? Tax strategy has to be a part of any plan. Frankly, maybe this should have been like in the top 3. This probably should have been higher on the list. So after fees, how much does it cost, and are you a fiduciary? This probably should have been number 3. Is how do you deal with the taxes, and how do you minimize that tax liability? And I think that's one of the areas where Nelson Financial Planning is relatively unique. We are an ERO, which means we are an electronic return originator for the IRS, so under the sort of the purview of the U.S. Treasury Department when it comes to that. And that means that when we're doing a tax projection, we're actually doing it using some tax software that actually shows directly what your end result would be. So make sure you got that tax strategy in there. Last one in the bonus, how do I contact you when something urgent comes up? When life happens, you need to be able to reach out to somebody. Make sure you understand the real value of any advisor is during transitions, whether it's market transitions or inheritance or job changes or retirements or any of those kinds of things. That's where the biggest value is more in the transparent side of things. And then the bonus one is always a good one to ask is, what do your clients wish that they had asked sooner or done sooner? So those are the questions to ask. If you're interested in kind of rehearing it again, well, you know how to do that. Just go to our podcast channel, and there you can listen to this show an infinite amount of times. My name is Joel Garris with Nelson Financial Planning. We're going to take a break and continue the conversation here on Dollars and Cents.